Are you guys excited about the Isle of Armor? I definitely am. This video breaks down 10 items, ideas, and features that need to be added to the Isle of Armor for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Let's do it. What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I'm bringing you guys a brand new video today, and today we are breaking down the top 10 items and features that need to be added to the Pokemon Sword and Shield Isle of Armor DLC that would drastically increase the gameplay quality and just improve things overall. This list was actually curated through talking to my live streams and on Twitter and everything in between, so we've got a really solid list here of changes we'd like to see, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. So if you have any other ideas that are not covered in this video, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Definitely be sure to subscribe if you guys are new and get those notifications turned on. We've got some incredible Isle of Armor content coming out over the coming weeks, and of course, like the video down below. But let's not waste any time, let's jump into this thing. With the Isle of Armor, we know that we're gonna get new Apricorn balls, or at least a way to craft new Apricorn balls, and it seems as though it's pretty likely that Kurt, or maybe his granddaughter, is gonna be returning in the Isle of Armor. What we don't know, however, is if there's going to be new Apricorn balls introduced in the game. I most certainly think that there will be. One of the Apricorn ball types that I think would be most effective would be to add one that actually works in max raid battles. Currently, we have a handful of things that work well in max raid battles, like repeat balls, dusk balls, and even in some cases net balls, but there is no specific Pokeball that is designed for max raid battles. By introducing a new Apricorn ball that you could craft yourself that gives you a higher chance to catch Pokemon in raids, or maybe even specifically catch Gigantamax Pokemon, that would be a really great addition and help out a lot of players who really struggle sometimes to catch some of those harder Pokemon. When you look at max raid battles and the fact that you really only have one chance to catch the Pokemon, I think it would make sense to have a Pokeball that has a higher multiplier. But regardless of the max raid Pokeball, I think it's inevitable that we're gonna get new Pokeballs altogether. So let's hope we get some new Pokeballs or Apricorn balls that can help us catch maybe fire type Pokemon, or maybe catch flying type Pokemon. The possibilities are really endless. I just hope that Pokemon and Nintendo get a little bit creative when it comes to these new Apricorn balls. The next item in this video is something that I've been advocating for a super long time, and that is a rusty or broken bottle cap. For those who don't know, the bottle cap is an item that allows you to max out a Pokemon's IV when the Pokemon reaches level 100. So if you have a Pokemon that has a less than perfect stat, let's say a 15 defense IV, at level 100 you can perfect that by making it 31, which is the highest an IV can be. However, there's no item that allows you to reduce IVs on a Pokemon. You may be asking, why would I need to reduce the IV of a Pokemon? But actually, there's a few instances where it does come into play. By reducing a Pokemon's attack IV if they're a special attacker, or a Pokemon that doesn't use their attack stat at all, you actually reduce the amount of damage they take from confusion in competitive battles. You also reduce the amount of healing that's done when an opponent Pokemon uses Strength Sap, and you also reduce the amount of damage taken from the move Foul Play. So reducing your attack stat with a broken or rusted bottle cap could actually be pretty optimal for competitive Pokemon. Lastly, and most importantly, the rusted or broken bottle cap would actually be used to lower Pokemon's speed stat to 0. In competitive Pokemon, the move Trick Room is actually very abundant in VGC, and by having a 0 speed Pokemon, you'll actually be faster under the Trick Room mechanics. Unfortunately, in the current Pokemon games, and really every Pokemon game altogether, if you happen to catch like a cool shiny Pokemon like a Hatterene or a Hatenna, and it doesn't have 0 speed, it's unfortunately not going to be nearly as viable in competitive Pokemon as a 0 speed competitively bred one would be. This is why I think that the rusted bottle cap should be added. There's really no downside from a competitive perspective, it doesn't hurt anything, and it simply allows Pokemon to fluctuate back and forth between 0 and perfect stats. It's a really specific instance, but I think it would really help players develop competitive Pokemon a little bit better and allow us to customize our shinies or maybe some of our favorites with a little bit more variability. This is probably one of the features that I want the most because I'm someone who likes to use Trick Room a lot in competitive, and I have to consistently breed for 0 speed Pokemon. And anytime I find a shiny that doesn't have 0 speed that's a Trick Room specific Pokemon, it really loses a lot of its usefulness in competitive. Keeping on the topic of competitive, I think that they should really introduce something called a Hidden Ability Capsule. We know that there's an ability capsule which allows you to change your ability from a regular ability to another regular ability. So in the case of various Pokemon that have 3 abilities, 2 normal abilities, and a hidden ability, you can swap between the 2 normal abilities. For the purposes of this example, let's take a look at the Pokemon Escavalier. Now, Escavalier has 3 abilities, 2 regular abilities abilities and 1 hidden ability. Its 2 regular abilities are Swarm and Shell Armor, while its hidden ability is Overcoat. And while Swarm isn't that useful in competitive, both Shell Armor and Overcoat are. Now, if you were to breed a Escavalier and you want to get Shell Armor, but you happen to get Swarm, you can change that with a regular ability capsule. However, if you do not have the hidden ability, you can't switch back to hidden ability. You could never get Overcoat on that exact Escavalier, like if you had a shiny or a marked one. And the same is true as if you have a hidden ability Overcoat Escavalier, you can't change that to a Swarm or Shell Armor one because the ability capsules simply just do not interact with hidden abilities. By introducing a hidden ability capsule, we'd be able to change Pokemon from regular ability to hidden ability and be able to swap them back and forth for competitive. Pokemon has made a lot of quality of life improvements with mints and bottle caps and IV checking and everything in between to make competitive easier. However, this is something that I feel like they missed, and by adding a hidden ability capsule, we'd have a lot of opportunities to swap our Pokemon around, get them more competitively viable, and really reduce some of the stress when it comes to breeding for shiny hidden ability Pokemon. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about No Guard Fissure Machamp, aDrive? What about that? Well, No Guard Fissure Machamp is obviously a big concern, and for those who don't know the Pokemon Machamp, if it knows Fissure from Generation 1 and is transferred all the way up, and you give it its hidden ability No Guard, which it previously can't have, or its regular ability No Guard, then it would be a Pokemon that could essentially click Fissure over and over again, and it would never miss. However, what we know from ranked competitive Pokemon is the Pokemon has to be born and bred in the Galar region to be used in competitive in the first place. So that issue isn't really a problem, in my opinion, since Fissure is a pass-along move from the Generation 1 games, and I don't think you'd be able to use it in competitive. It would just be a meme that you could use online with your friends. I really don't see that being that much of an issue. The next thing I want to talk about is more of a feature and kind of some items as well, and that is the shiny hunting mechanics. I really hope that Pokemon Sword and Shield Isle of Armor or Crown Tundra DLC introduces more shiny hunting mechanics. In the previous games like X and Y and Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, we had a handful of different options to use to shiny hunt Pokemon in the wild, from Pokeradar to DexNav to hordes with honey and sweet scent, and a lot of other things in between like the Friend Safari. But unfortunately, Pokemon Sword and Shield really has a battle mechanic method where you battle wild encounters, which is coded incorrectly in the first place, so it doesn't yield the results it's supposed to. And then it has a Masuda method mechanic where you can breed for Pokemon, but that's not really that great. So here we are, as shiny hunters are really limited in our options in Pokemon Sword and Shield in terms of ways we can obtain shiny Pokemon. By adding more shiny hunting mechanics, you actually increase the playability of the games and give shiny hunters something else to do once they've beaten the game. It gives a little bit more opportunity to shake up from the monotony. I think something like chain fishing would also be nice to introduce. It's frustrating to me that the chain fishing mechanic is in Sword and Shield, but it doesn't actually factor into shiny chance. It simply factors into the Brilliant Aura, which is that yellow aura swirl that goes around the Pokemon that we see in the wild. Another frustrating point about the Brilliant Aura is that it doesn't have an increased shiny chance. Who was the person who coded this at Game Freak who said, hey, let's create these super cool wild Pokemon that have these auras to make them stronger. They have better IVs and egg moves, but no, we're not gonna give them an increased shiny chance because that would make way too much sense. They've really butchered shiny hunting in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and it blows my mind because they've clearly paid more attention to shiny hunting over the past couple years. They've even acknowledged it in the anime by introducing a shiny hunter character in the most recent anime series. But still, the Pokemon Sword and Shield main series game really lacks content. As I mentioned, a simple fix would be adding the Pokeradar, adding Friend Safari, or adding some other mechanic like that, simply updating the previous mechanics that seem to be coded incorrectly, maybe adding in chain fishing, and I think the problem is solved. But Pokemon and Sword and Shield really lacked in that department, so we're hoping that the Isle of Armor DLC can come through there. This next item is probably one of the most controversial on the list, and that is the Dynamax Turn Extender. We talk about different held items that allow Pokemon to function in competitive battles, and one of the cool things that separates Dynamaxing from Mega Evolutions is the fact that Mega Evolutions required a held item to use, whereas Dynamaxing can be free range on the held item. Pokemon run Focus Sashes and Choice Scarfs and Choice Bands, Life Orbs, and everything in between, but currently there is no item that can extend the duration of Dynamaxing. Now, Dynamaxing itself is a pretty broken mechanic. We've got 3 turns of this Pokemon being super big, double HP, dealing massive damage, but what if they introduce a new held item that would extend the Dynamax turns for simply 1 turn in exchange for that item slot? Now remember, in competitive Pokemon, there's item claws, so only 1 Pokemon can hold this item at a time, and most VGC competitive teams have a few Pokemon that they would choose to Dynamax. I think while this item at first glance seems to be pretty broken, there is the possibility that it could be a really unique held item that allows Dynamax Pokemon to last for 1 extra turn and maybe deal out some more damage and get some of those max move boosts. I did say this was the most controversial one in this video, so don't come after me if you think it's broken. it, because it probably is, but it could be a lot of fun with the Dynamax mechanic. This video has a lot of my passionate feelings about it for Pokemon Sword and Shield, and the next one is something that really disappoints me that was not included into the main game, and I can only hope that it was intended for the DLC. The items I'm discussing are the Versus Seeker and the Versus Recorder. These two items were mainstays in the Pokemon franchise that allow you to challenge other trainers again in the game, adding more playability and allowing you to train your team, as well as a way to record your battles online through the Wi-Fi feature. Currently, there's no way to record your battles if you don't have a capture card device like I do, which, by the way, if you're looking to get one, you can pick up an Elgato HD60 Pro or the Elgato HD60S, which is my go-to product for capture card gameplay. But in the meantime, there's no way on the Nintendo Switch to record long stretches of gameplay outside of having a capture device. Because of this, it really stifles the Pokemon community, and it keeps entry-level players from creating content online. Lastly, and probably the most important point to this, is the spectator mode. For those who don't know, when you play in a LAN tournament like a VGC event in person, there is a spectator mode that Pokemon can tap into that allows a really cool field of view for both opponents, as well as different effects on the field showing how many turns of Trick Room or Sandstorm are left. However, that spectator mode is not able to be accessed unless you are in LAN mode. Playing in LAN mode is not feasible right now. There is a global pandemic, and we cannot simply play in person, and it's clear that they have this spectator mode already coded somewhere in the game. We need this spectator mode added to online matches so myself, Wolf, and others can create amazing tournaments like the Champions Cup without having to jump through some crazy obscure hoops of trying to battle in LAN mode. Please, 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 Pokemon, give us spectator mode. It'll give us the chance to help the community thrive by creating online tournaments and keeping the VGC and competitive circuit alive in this difficult time. Now that you've heard me go on my competitive rant there, another item I think would be really cool is a rarer wishing piece. We know of the wishing pieces as an item that you can throw into the dens to get different beams to pop up. However, getting a purple beam can be pretty challenging. I think it comes up at about a 10% clip, but what if there was an item that allowed us to actually get a purple beam every single time, but it came at a much higher cost? We know that the raids in the dens have been exploited to no end, and truthfully, it's actually ruined the raid system. The fact of the matter is, the amount of hacked and exploited raids in Pokemon Sword and Shield right now are just insane. There are so many hacked raids that you really can't safely play the game without joining into a hacked raid unless you're exclusively going into your own raids. And while some people may not actually care about that point, people like myself who want to play the game legitimately really struggle to do that because we can't use one of the main features in Sword and Shield, which is max raid battles. Now, I understand people change their clock and you may have your different opinions about this, and I'm not the guy to tell you how to play your game. But I do think that adding a purple wishing piece or a special wishing piece that allows us to guarantee a purple beam would help players be able to find those rare dens that they want and maybe discourage people going for those exploits in general. Ultimately, I can only keep my fingers crossed that Pokemon and Nintendo are actually going to patch their game moving forward. We already talked about the broken wild shiny mechanics, and we already know that these raids and den exploits are it's just insane how many there are. Speaking of those den exploits and everything in between, one thing that a lot of people do is change their date on their Nintendo Switch to manipulate the weather. Oftentimes when you're looking in the wild area, you might be trying to find a specific type of Pokemon that only spawns in certain weather, and I think it'd be really cool if they introduced an item that would allow you to change the weather of that particular area for a short period of time. This could be integrated into moves that various Pokemon use, or it could simply be an item that you can use that allows you to change or select different weather depending on what you're looking for in the wild area. This is a really simple mechanic, and it would keep people from changing the date on their Nintendo Switch, which kind of messes up various events, and it would keep people from adjusting those things like time control and so on and so forth, which could lead to a reduction in those exploited dens and raids. Jumping back to competitive Pokemon, it's often that someone will use their favorite or a shiny and train it up, and then find later that they want to train it in a different way. For those who don't know, EVs or effort values are stats that you can accumulate by battling wild Pokemon or using vitamins, and they can be reduced through these items called berries, like the Qualop berry, the Palm Egg berry, and the Tomato berry. But it would be really nice if there was one item that would actually wipe the slate clean and get rid of all the EVs on a Pokemon so you can start from scratch. Currently, we use these berries and we can't see how many EVs we're reducing every time, so we really are just kind of blindly using berries and really wasting them. And while they are relatively easy to accumulate, I think an item that would wipe the slate clean would actually be really, really useful. And the last thing I want to cover in this video is custom throwing animations. This is something that is really not as important as some of the other stuff, but really adds to the aesthetic of the game. We see various trainers like Nessa and Hop and Leon that have these crazy awesome throwing animations that remind me of Juan Marichal from the Major League Baseball. Ultra Sun and Moon introduced these custom throwing animations that you can do, and they took the feature away in Sword and Shield, which seems like the perfect game to have it integrated in. We have league cards, we have this huge focus on these trainer battles, we see characters like Hop develop and change their throwing style throughout the game, yet we can't choose our own throwing style. It's a little thing, but any little bit of customization I think makes a difference for players and gives us something else to be excited about when we're playing through the game. Now obviously we covered a lot of different topics in this video, from shiny hunting to competitive to throwing animations and everything in between, but I think a lot of these items and ideas could easily be integrated into Pokemon Sword and Shield, Isle of Armor, or Crown Tundra DLC and really add and enhance the gameplay experience. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Do you agree with this list? Do you disagree with this list? Do you think I completely missed something that you would like to see as well? Perhaps these ideas in this video can actually get to Pokemon themselves and maybe inspire some changes in the future. I do ask that you guys like the video and make sure you guys subscribe, get those notifications turned on, and again, let your voice be heard in the comments section below with what items or features you'd like added to the Isle of Armor or Sword and Shield DLC. Thank you guys again for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed, you should definitely check out this one. I think it's pretty epic, but YouTube thinks that you'll like this one, so pick and choose one or the other and keep on rocking. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.